Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Registrar of Deeds of Plymouth County, and this show is about Plymouth County real estate. Our headline for the month was Fall Brings Signs of a Possible Slowdown in Plymouth County Real Estate. I'm going to talk about the recordings for the month of September, this being October. I'm going to go through all of those recordings. I have a great guest in the second segment of the show, a gentleman whose grandfather was Register of Deeds back in the early 1900s, and a little bit of our county and colony history. So let's get right to the numbers. You're going to see a bar chart of deeds, recordings. So in September, we recorded 684 deeds, slightly more than in September, 652, 4% less than last year. And basically, our average sale price for the month of September dipped somewhat down to a very high number, $712,309 average sale price, 9% drop from last month. Going to go right to mortgages. In mortgages, you see a slight drop. In September, there were 1,375 mortgages recorded, less than the 1,381 in August, 11% more than last September. And year-to-date, for mortgages, it's up 11%. We always follow foreclosure issues, particularly since the meltdown in 2008. But it's been very slow recording numbers for foreclosure deeds and foreclosure notices. During COVID, there was a moratorium, a freeze on foreclosure deeds and notices, and the lenders really haven't ramped them up significantly since. There were 9 foreclosure deeds in all of Plymouth County in September, same number as in August, 25% less than last September, and 23% lower year-to-date. Same thing with foreclosure notices, although the numbers are higher. There were 33 foreclosure notices throughout all of Plymouth County in September, less than the 44 in August, and 15% less than last September. If you're facing difficulty paying your mortgage, reach out to a federal housing counselor as fast as you can. A foreclosure deed is when a lender has taken back the ownership from you. So at the foreclosure notice stage, you really want to try to work on something to keep you in your property. You'll see a listing of all of our 27 communities in Plymouth County. Still a lot of zeros there. However, if you look at Brockton on that list, in September, there were 13 foreclosure sales, meaning people lost the title to their property, in 10 orders of notice, meaning they're at the warning stage. The next closest to that is Plymouth, usually, and Wareham, usually. And you can see Plymouth wasn't so bad this particular month, but 4 deeds, and Wareham had 3 foreclosure deeds and 3 foreclosure notices. Again, I always try to stress if you're facing difficulty making payments to your property, and certainly in these days when many people are not getting paychecks, if you work for the federal government, reach out to a housing counselor. NeighborWorks is one we work with, and try to modify your loan. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this section of the show, we've always done something educational, from surveyors to appraisers, many realtors, a lot of people involved in the real estate community. But I had a very interesting person come in and visit me a couple of weeks ago, and his grandfather had actually been one of my predecessors as Register of Deeds. That he was elected and started in 1901, and he served 37 years as Register of Deeds. His name was John Washburn. His grandson, who joins me, and welcome, thanks for coming, is Reverend Stephen Washburn.
Thank you for your invitation.
So I thought it was fascinating, our conversation, and I thought it would be great to bring you in and talk a little bit about how families move on, people stay connected, people stay in public service. And let's start by talking about your grandfather. So did you know him? Were you alive when he was alive?
Yes, indeed. He was alive for the first 11 years of my life.
Oh, great.
And he stayed with my parents and me, as well as with the households of his two other children after he could no longer live independently.
Okay.
He had lived on Fremont Street and before that Allerton Street.
Sure.
And so I did get to know him, and I was grateful.
Yeah, so I think in the scheme of our registers, and we on our list, when you walk in our building in Plymouth, 50 Overy Street on the left-hand side, list everyone that had every register or colonial governor that had been responsible for land records. So starting with William Bradford and going through a few of the colonial governors, and then to county registers of deeds, your grandfather was the 16th person, and he served from, again, 1901 to 1938. And as we saw when you and I were walking around our corridor, he was there for a very important transition, the transition from handwritten deeds to typewritten deeds, which was a huge change in technology. And we go through technology changes every year, it seems. But that was kind of fascinating to me.
Yes, indeed.
So what do you remember of your grandfather?
I remember that he was focused, he was observant, he was kind, and good example, he was sitting in the garden outside at our house where I grew up, and a little squirrel came and climbed up his left trouser leg, up his jacket, around his collar, and went back down. So he had the poise to let this happen.
Wow.
And then wandered into the garden. And so he came into the house and said, "There's a little squirrel that doesn't know what to be afraid of. We've got to help this squirrel."
Well, that's great. Now, what house was that you lived with him?
I grew up in Sharon, Massachusetts. Okay. So that was in that town,
Good.
About 18 miles south of Boston.
Sure, I know Sharon is, yeah. Actually, one of our other notable people from Plimpton had lived there after she lived in Plimpton. Mm-hmm. Deborah Sampson.
Oh, yes.
First woman who fought in the Army. In the
American Revolution. Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
And he was also somebody who enjoyed working with trees and gardens. That was a peaceful thing for him to do. But as you know, he grew up in a low-income family. His father was a mechanic. And when he graduated from Plymouth High School in 1882, that was the first year when no one from Plymouth High School was going to be admitted to Harvard College, since Harvard was founded in 1636.
Okay.
So the Harvard Club of Plymouth went to the principal of the high school and said, "This isn't good. Isn't there somebody who ought to go to Harvard who can't?" And so the principal said, "Well, there's John Bell Washburn." So they approached my grandfather and said, "If you will teach yourself Greek this summer and pass the entrance exam in September, we will fund you for 4 years at Harvard College." Well, he was gifted with a photographic memory.
Oh, wow.
That made the difference.
Wow.
He passed the exam and they funded him, and he graduated. One of his classmates was the well-known philosopher, Spanish origin, George Santayana. This is a letter that George Santayana wrote. It's in my grandfather's possession, 1945. But they were classmates and friends, and Santayana's approach was, "The world is not respectable, it's mortal, tormented, confused, deluded forever, but it is shot through with beauty, with love, with glints of courage and laughter, and in these the spirit blooms." And their spirits bloomed together at Harvard College. And when he graduated in 1886, he joined the Registry of Deeds and was a clerk.
Really?
And then he graduated, in 1901, he was the youngest person ever elected to be the registrar.
Wow. So he was one of those people who was like a scribe, copying over real estate documents into the records.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he prided himself on legible script.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And he was elected because, I don't know if there were 6-year terms then, there are now. He was reelected many times to go from 1901 to 1938.
Well, he was very grateful to the citizens of Plymouth and to the Harvard Club and the
Plymouth
community.
County.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So he really got involved in local organizations, Plymouth 5-cent Savings Bank, Plymouth Cooperative Bank, the Masons, others as well. And so he was really devoted to the community, which had given him such an opportunity.
Oh, great. So it's kind of fascinating that, having been hired as a recorder at the time, really copying the deed from the original deed with the seals on it and all that into the records to be preserved, that he was the person that transitioned the system from handwriting to typewriting. That's kind of fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
Of course, one time the handwriting being legible backfired on him. He wrote a letter to somebody or other, signed it John Bell Washburn, and the response came back addressed to John H. B. Dashbum. A little family joke.
Oh, wow.
But that was the only time that someone couldn't read his writing, as far as we know.
So one of the things we did with our display committee 20 years ago, because we've actually been operating since it's Cornerstone went in for our building in 2004. We started operations in 2005, but our original building committee turned into a display committee. I know you've seen those displays, and one of the displays is a listing of all 22 registers with their name, their years of service, the book and pages for their time that were overseen by them, and a document signed by one document signed by them in that display.
That's a wonderful display, and it shows appreciation for people who give their lives to public service.
Sure.
And that's very much in harmony with the Mayflower Compact, passing laws, not just any laws, but for the common good of the community. And you think of it, he started out, the registry was operating in what's now the town hall.
Yeah.
Then a registry building was constructed across the street.
Yeah, 1904.
And then, now with your current building, with the historic record and the transitions, thank you for appreciating all of that.
Well, the 1904 building, which obviously he served in, because it was a 100-year building basically at the time, 1904 to 2004, was a great building in its day, beautiful ornamental staircases, but it was unable to handle the modern cabling that we require now in our technology. It is now condos right across from the building that he started in. The 1620 courthouse is what it was before it became town hall. And he transitioned not only from handwriting to typewriting, but from one building to the other, as I did, going from the 1904 building to the 2004 building.
And as you know, transitions like that, they take a lot of planning and work.
Thank God we've gone through that. And we say our current building is a 100-year building, which will not be up to me, but will be up to somebody in the future.
Well, you have laid the foundation and prepared the way.
I am sure when he was in the 1904 building in 1938, nobody was thinking ahead that building would be vacated.
I'm sure not. Lots of transitions with technological change.
Sure.
One of the technological change he experienced outside of the registry was, of course, the coming of the automobile.
Yeah.
And he was very interested in automobiles, and at one point he had a car made by the Everett, Metzger, and Flanders Company.
Yeah.
Well, you could guess what its record was when you know that the short form for Everett, Metz, and Flanders, EMF, was Every Morning Fix.
Well, I want to thank you, Reverend. It's a great little story. I'm glad you happened to pop in to see me. It's a great story when you can reach back 100 years of your family history and then walk into a building and see his name on the wall.
And thank you for that framing of history, present, and future. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
For the month of October, we honor both Indigenous People Day and Columbus Day. There was a gentleman by the name of Giuseppe Garibaldi, who was a very famous Italian patriot who led to the unification of Italy. North Plymouth was the home to many Italian immigrants. Many worked at the local factories. The Garibaldi Club was a social club that was relocated to Castle Street in 1848, named in his honor, in his bravery. There are statues of him around the world, in Rome, New York City, and in squares. But the Garibaldi Club continues to operate today in many civic endeavors. The next notable record we're going to talk about, since we're coming off cranberry season, is the Pembroke Restaurant and Tea Room in Carver. And that site has a long history. There was a foundry there used to build cannonballs. The local ponds had a lot of bog iron. It is claimed that cannonballs from this foundry and this site were used by the USS Constitution, later named the Ellis Iron Works. It produced pots, kettles, and it was later transferred into a cranberry screening station. Has had a variety of uses over the years, but is a well-known location if you were in Carver. And last but not least, as October is the end of the baseball season, we always bring up one of our Plymouth County residents who was known for their stellar performance as a baseball player. In this particular one, it was Dom DiMaggio, born in San Francisco, the son of Giuseppe and Rosalie DiMaggio, who came from Sicily. His father and older brother were fishermen, but two of his brothers, Joe, the Yankee Clipper, and Vince, were professional baseball players. Dom played with his brothers for the San Francisco Seals, and Dom DiMaggio played his entire career for the Boston Red Sox from 1940 to 1942, and then after service in the Navy, he played from 46 to 53. Well known as a center fielder, he is a member of the Red Sox Hall of Fame, and him and his wife lived in Marion for many years. And last but not least, one of our Plymouth Colony records. Since the Plymouth 400, the celebration of the 400th anniversary of Plymouth Colony, we've continued to mention one of our colony records. Plymouth Colony started upon the arrival of the Mayflower, and this particular document is interesting because it wasn't a deed, it was a letter recorded that acted as a deed. In this recorded letter from Jonathan Brewster to his deceased brother's widow, Sarah Brewster, Jonathan Brewster granted land to his niece. Loving and kind sister, I thank you for your letter. Glad to hear you're doing well in your affliction of widowhood. I would love to grant this land to your daughter because we're moving to England. It's a fascinating story of a time in our life, 1656, when families took care of each other, particularly when he was moving back to England, moving over to England in his case, but fascinating from the perspective of the Registry of Deeds because we record deeds and mortgages, and that is a very unique thing that they recorded a letter. So I want to thank the local scene for their great help in continuing to promote Plymouth County real estate. This particular show is our 181st show, and the local scene, formerly PAC TV, has been with us on every one of those shows. So we'll see you next month. We'll talk a little about the history of the month and some of our great numbers and history stories for the month of November. Thank you very much and take care.